All right, everybody, welcome to the No Post Game Show to get you in the know. I am here with Zach Nunez of Go Deep Dive.
Are we allowed to
Shout
say
out to them. Wait,
that?
what?
So are we allowed to say that?
Yeah. We're they're in YouTube jail, as I'm sure a lot of folks know already. They say only the good ones wind up in YouTube jail, so I don't know. At least that's what was said, in the group chat. But we're here talking Saints preseason. Week 1 is officially in the books. I think anyone who watched the game saw about what we expected for Week 1, right? We knew we weren't going to see a whole lot of Rattler because I think the Saints are pretty confident in the fact that he can be number 2. Um, and I think Zach Wilson got the nod mostly, A, to see what he can do, and B, the preseason really is a tryout for other teams. So, while I think Zach Wilson's going to be in the black and gold come Week 1, you may incite some trade value in some guys and doing things like this. I'm sure anyone who was on X today saw the various postings of they got to get Spencer Rattler somewhere he can start and this and that. But I think Spencer Rattler. I was high on him last year, and I still love the guy. I think he does have a legit chance at being QB1 for somebody. But when you look around the league, I think if anybody needed a quarterback, they would have called earlier than preseason Week 1, right? Now, of course, there could be a scenario where somebody comes in towards the end of the preseason and says, hey, we want one of them. I'll give you my answer, and then we'll go from there. If you had GMs calling you and they said we want Rattler, we want Wilson, are you keeping both? Are you moving one? And if you had to choose, which one are you moving?
I think because you have two guys who have so much talent and
Right.
know what it takes to win at the college level, at least. I think because you have two options like that for backup, then I'm okay dealing one and I'm okay trading one. Had you asked me prior to the Zach Wilson signing and prior to seeing how well he played today, I probably would have traded Zach Wilson. But looking at it now, I'm like, Zach Wilson looked really, really good today. And if we have to go to a backup quarterback, what's our season really going to look like at that point anyway? Because this roster's not really like built to win quite yet, in my opinion. So if you dish Spencer Rattler and then roll with Zach Wilson at that point, I think you kind of have somebody with a little bit more upside than what Spencer Rattler offers. And I love Spencer Rattler too. Don't get me wrong. I was full on Spencer Rattler train for the past few years. But looking at it now, I really like Zach Wilson too.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you because even through Zach Wilson and Spencer Rattler's younger careers, obviously the Saints they guaranteed about a quarter, I think it was, of Zach Wilson's contract. So trades and things like that can change cap numbers when it comes to that. But Spencer Rattler's still on a rookie deal, so I think for other teams, he may be the more attractive option, and they may be able to unlock something in him the Saints haven't quite been able to unlock. And I'll tell you, as much as I hate to say this, because I think Rattler has one of the cooler names to be like an NFL quarterback, with like the whole rattlesnake theming and stuff like that. He was a 5th round pick, so what value you get out of that is one thing. But when you look at his tenure with the Saints, again, I think there's something there that the Saints haven't been able to unlock that you would hope another club, another team could unlock, because that's the biggest thing with Spencer Rattler. And I'll tell you, again, I was big on the Rattler train. I hope the guy succeeds, whether he's with us or with someone else. But the biggest thing about Rattler, to me, has always been the red zone struggles. I don't know what it is about getting out to that red zone. He as long as he's been here for the 2 years he's been here, and it just seems like that was just a big issue for him. And in his time here, I think he's won one game, right? I could be wrong.
I think that's about right. I think that's
yeah,
right.
and as much as I hate to hold that over someone's head, it's also one of those things. Fresh starts are a good thing, right? Zach Wilson. Zach
Right.
Wilson came in today looking like a starter. Is anyone
He
going
did.
to start Zach Wilson week 1? No, but he did come in here looking really good. So sometimes a change of scenery is what guys need. So I think I'm in agreement. I'd roll with Wilson purely based off of week 1, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Zach, Spencer could tear it up in a week or 2 here, but I think that's my biggest holdup with Rattler is we've seen what he can do, and unfortunately, it's a 1-11 record, whatever it may be. I don't know the exact count for the games, but it's not good, right?
1-13.
And you look at some of those games. I just pulled up the stats. I mean, in his time here, he's only thrown for, less about a third of his games are under 200 yards, which in today's league is pretty good. But then you go to the other column, and in my opinion, one of the more important columns for quarterbacks. And in his 2 years here, he's only had 12 touchdowns. That's just not great for the amount of games that he's played. You're not going to win with less than a touchdown a game, So, yeah, again, not trying to hate on Spencer Rattler. I'm not trying to put the guy down. If we roll with him week 1 as the backup, I'm not mad. If he has to come in because something happens, again, I'm not mad. I just think right now, I'm in agreement. I think Wilson is the way to go. And he looked stellar. I think, I want to throw a comparison out there, but it seems unfair because he's so young in his career, and it felt like the comparison was a dinosaur in the league. But I would almost think that Wilson could be like another Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? Like you're not going to get 16, 17 games of pro caliber NFL football out of him. But shoot, for 2 or 3 games a week, or 2 or 3 games a season, if you need him, he's going to come and ball out. But he just can't do that consistently week after week, which is, I think, also Wilson's issue. And I'll be excited if he has the success going forward. But I digress on that point. I think a lot of people, are going to talk about the backup quarterback battle. And I think if the Saints operate how they've operated in the past, they're going to take the guy with higher upside. And I think right now that is Wilson. We know, I think he's probably won more games a season than Rattler has in 2 seasons, which is a shame, but Wilson magic. Yeah, we'll have to think of something new for him, but I do like it. We'll have to get some names. He's coming in. We can start the Fitz magic chant, but hopping over to the other side of the ball. Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. Both rookies, or no, not rookies. One rookie and I think second-year guy. But I want to hop to the rookie first, Jaden Price. He jumped that route, and as quick as he jumped the route, I thought it was going the other way for 6. But then the camera shifted a little bit, and I saw the jersey. He's like, all right, he's not getting very far. But I think he looked really good today. He had 2 or 3 pass deflections that it felt like he had good body position on them. I do want to see him get a little more involved in tackling. I know I would say he's undersized to play in the league. That doesn't even break 200 pounds according to his combine numbers, which isn't the end of the world. But I think that would be the only thing I want to see going forward in the preseason from him. But was there any defense guys before I jump to my second one that you saw stand out? It might be the same one, but we'll see.
Yeah, the joke I had about Jaden Price before I go to the other one that I kind of identified is like you can't call a milk check on Jaden Price because he can run with you and he can make some serious plays. Like that pick, like the intelligence it took for him to read that play and play on the short side of the zone and understanding where the offense was trying to go with the ball was beautiful. Like that is the kind of intelligence you just can't coach. It's just like experience and IQ. The other person that I kind of identified today was Michael Heldman, 2 sacks.
Okay.
Pretty incredible game from him as well.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And I feel like he almost seemed too quick on the blocks today. There were some times where like the runner, if he figures out how to just read what's happening a little better, I think he's going to be nasty in the run game as well, because there were so many times where he was right and he was already past his blocker, but the back was going the other way. It's almost like he was too explosive for his own good. But on the defensive line, you'll always take a bull in a china shop, right? I mean, they're disruptive and they're going to make things happen. We'll go back to offense for a little bit here because your co-host over there with the name that shall not be said on YouTube said Wilson Wizardry. I think I like that. We'll have to. We were a game winning away from Trey Palmer. Yeah, that would have. Yeah, definitely. That would have been. Yeah, what's funny is I had the graphic made for the 24/20 for like the show, and I was like, dude, don't do it, please. Please, I don't feel like editing this again just to go back and edit it. But the other one I want to throw out there is Jalen Ford. I tell you, the guy, he seemed like he was everywhere today. It felt like when there was a tackle going on, you saw number 53 standing around, jumping on it, jumping in it. And then, he also had the pick today, which to see, a guy playing linebacker get 15 yards deep and pick up the ball over the middle. That's, again, one of those things where we obviously know that there's two holes that need filling. Davis is gone,
right?
And Alonte's gone, right? So, I'm happy to see that two young guys and a rookie and a second or third year. I can't remember how Jalen Ford's been in the league, but
this is going to be his third year.
Third year, okay, yeah.
Played a few games in the rookie season, and then at the end of 2024, I guess he broke his leg and then was out for the rest of the next season, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah. So, I think those are two positions that, we may not exactly expect Ford and Price to start at, but the depth is already there. And honestly, if you told me, we'd go into the season here and my two corners would be Jalen Price and Kool-Aid McKinstry, I'd be pretty satisfied with that as a 1 and 2, I think, you have Reed and Blackman at safety that I think you're going to have a lot of a no pun intended, a safety blanket with those two veterans back there with the young guys up front. So I think we'll be all right if that's what we do. And then, you still have Sanker as well, which,
right.
He plays the nickel, or I think he's probably going to play the nickel again for us this season. But I think the defense looks solid overall. I know they had the late drive where, you had guys with numbers in the triple digits out there at this point, like with, we don't even know, they're trying out for other teams. They're trying out for Canadian or XFL or any of those leagues right now, which is, great for them. But I'm not too concerned about losing a preseason game. Obviously, we want to win, right? But it is what it is. But yeah, so, I think typically, I like to look around the NFC South, but it's preseason, so I don't really care too much about looking around the NFC South. So we'll just hop into player of the game. I think I'm gonna give it to Zach Wilson. It feels weird to give it to a quarterback in the preseason that's not a rookie, right? But I think I like him for this game for the player of the game. I think it probably would have went to Estime. I really don't know how to say his name. I know I feel like I hear it Estime. So, but yeah, I think it would have went to him. Yeah, I think it would have went to him if he would have not went to the tent in the locker room early because he seemed like he was running with a purpose early on. But
that was a brutal hit he took too, and like as soon as he got hit there, I was like, that's not good, because it was one of those ones like, and they said it on the broadcast where it's like, typically that's a hit where you tear your MCL. Right. So I was like, don't love that.
And you're with you have Devin Neal and Kendre Miller, who, I want to believe in Kendre Miller. I really do, because anytime he does play, the guy just looks like he's ready to show like the return of Chris Ivory, the way he runs, just angry and just shoulders up and everything like that. So love the way he plays, hate the way he laughs, I guess, so for him to come in and run like he was running and then unfortunately go down early in a game that seemed like he was going to get a lot of touches was really unfortunate for him. But yeah, so I'll pass it over to you. Who do you think player of the game was from your end there?
I think for me, it's got to be Price. I mean, he had the pick. He had two. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
I think
It was just one. It was just
it was
one.
the one. Yeah, yeah.
But he was all over the place. Like, he was a problem in the secondary. And like you were saying, like, it's preseason. It's week 1 of preseason. There aren't any starters out there really right now. But what happens come week 1 is, guys like Ford and Price, they may not be getting time on defense, but that's when you start seeing those guys make a difference on special teams too. And I think that's, if anything, like the biggest thing I could critique. I felt like special teams was lackluster today. So I'll be excited to see the potential of Price and Ford on special teams. But I got to give it to Price for sure. He was a monster today.
Yeah, and that's definitely, for guys like that where Price could very well steal, a starting spot on the defense depending on how things go. I think with just some of the years that other people have and snaps, Ford may find it a little more difficult to crack that rotation. But the way Ford is always around the ball, I think he would be a phenomenal one to stand out on special teams and kind of earn his stripes that way. So, yeah, as much as I love to see a linebacker, get an interception over the middle, it is the preseason, so he's probably not going to see those very often right in his hands. But I was happy that he caught it because they're not wide receivers for a reason, right? So, but yeah, and our special teams, I feel like the only like positive was the one that they kicked to Chandler, 80 something yards back. So, but after that, it was just kind of like too many gaps,
Right.
too many times you didn't see the block shedded, and so yeah, I think, but I think that's one of those things. Again, it's preseason. You literally have guys who are they're not even getting snaps on defense, getting snaps on special teams right now.
Right.
So we'll see how that plays out. But the other thing I want to point out before we kind of wrap this up and put it at the end was the other thing I liked about Zach Wilson a lot is, I don't. He's kind of like sneaky quick, right? You don't expect him to get away from you or get that step on you, but it felt like he had about the same or slightly worse protection than Rattler, but it felt like he did more with it, right? He still got sacked, but it just felt like and it could be an experience thing, right? Because again, he's been around for a couple more years. 2000. I just pulled it up. 2021. He's got a little more experience in the pocket and the pro speed than Rattler does. But yeah, he just seemed to be more aware of where his protection was and making the right step to just get that extra second that he needed. So I just, that's something I think to watch over these next couple of games to see if that ultimately matters, right? Because again, I think that could make or break the backup role. And I think since Chase Daniels into Jameis Winston and Teddy Bridgewater and maybe now Zach Wilson, the Saints have found a way to take guys who maybe aren't playing anywhere else, but come here and find that second win. Not so much Chase Daniels. I'm thinking Chase Daniels, his second win with the Saints, because he was here, he left, and he came back. And look at Jake Delhomme. I mean, that's even, longer of a tenure, but he was here, came in for a hurt Aaron Brooks, turned around, went to Carolina, and if memory serves, playoff run, I think, so.
I believe so.
Yeah, they just have a long tenure, I feel, of just finding guys, just like their special teams guys. I feel like every year there's a new guy that's just lights out on special teams and nobody knew who he was the year before he showed up to the Saints. So, but that's pretty much all I got. Zach, you got anything you want to let people know?
As far as the Saints go, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Hunter Deckers today, just because, look, we spent the past couple of weeks as far as Saints stuff, like talking about Drew Brees and talking about Taysom Hill. Mostly where I'm going with my point is Taysom Hill. I think if there's somebody that you have on your roster that can kind of play that Taysom Hill role, Hunter Deckers would fit the profile really, really well. So I would like to kind of see more of what he can do, because he's one of those guys who has elite athletic ability from what I remember watching him in college. The other is, I do want to shout out Barry and Brown. Deckers and Brown are the two of the guys I've been most excited about for the Saints this offseason. Just because I feel like Barian Brown was so underrated with his draft stock because of what had gone on with LSU in 2025. So understanding what he's capable of and having the Saints pick him up and having a really good offensive coach like Kellen Moore, I'm really excited to see what he can do with them as well.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say you're spot on with the Deckers take because, obviously I think Taysom is probably going to be like a once generational type player. And what's crazy is I feel like in 10 years, Taysom would be a starter in this league. It just feels like he was maybe just a little ahead of his time. But, I think if there's a guy who'd be willing to do the dirty work, it's someone like Deckers who understands that he's not going to make this team as QB2. He's going to make this team doing something else. And, he's a lefty. And I think Kellen Moore showed a lot of creativity in his time with Philadelphia. And so you could have some interesting plays with a left-handed quarterback where, I'm just thinking out loud here, you line him up like you used to line Taysom, up in like a slot or a tight end position. And then you put him in motion going right to left. And if you toss him the ball or hand him the ball, if that's a right-handed quarterback, he's having to do this number, right? But Decker, he's already letting it go, So I think there's a lot there that I think could be a lot of fun. And I would probably argue based on college arm versus pro arm, we don't know for sure until he starts throwing the ball more.
Right.
But I think he's, for what he may lack in the size and the physicality that Taysom could have, he's probably a little more accurate. And that could go a long way for some of that trickiness that they're losing without Taysom. And it would just be really interesting to see Taylor, Davis, Taysom be these guys who were leaving. I don't want to call them all veterans because Alante, isn't exactly, or wasn't exactly a veteran. And this defensive back room that we have right now, he was.
Right.
But you're losing those guys, and you're gaining 3. I'm just going to call them all rookies because Jalen Ford has only played 8 or so games, whatever it may be. Well. Yeah, and you're gaining 3 super young guys who seem to have the tangibles. We just don't know if it's long term. But definitely interested to see how that goes. And shout out to Alante. I think he did a great job when he was with the Saints. Shout out Davis. He obviously did a great job when he was with the Saints. I think. As because I joke, I don't follow LSU as intensely as most people in Louisiana do, but I'm pretty sure if the Saints find a way to again make something out of nothing, Vilma came here on the height of his career, did a phenomenal job. Davis came here on the height of his career, did a great job. We have an ex-Buccaneer and an ex-something else that just got signed. I don't want to get too excited, but I wanted him to come here draft day. I'm alluding to Deion Jones, but it'll be really interesting to see what he does here. And I hate to say that because I think that slows down Jalen Ford's progression.
Yeah.
But I still would love to see Deion Jones be successful. Coming from a rival, obviously, I want them to be better here than they are with the rival. And coming from New Orleans, LSU, Saints, I would love for him to be that next guy that solidifies his career in the black and gold as a linebacker who proved himself somewhere else and then came here. So excited to see that. And again, I'm not a big LSU cult member, but I can appreciate the New Orleans to Louisiana connection. That's what we're about here at the Kneaux. Obviously, we like to say New Orleans first, Louisiana next, the world after. But excited for that. But make sure you guys check us out. We're going to be doing this all season, barring 1 or 2 weeks where things don't go right. We got a lot of new faces, and I'm just going to shamelessly use this time to plug it all. Obviously our folks over there with LSU Go Deep Dive, 4th and Go. AP's got Timeout and Tangents. AP's on a tear, Timeout and Tangents, Talk SEC. I think at one point he was covering the World Cup. I don't really know, not really, but
He might
He's
as well
everywhere.
have been.
Yeah, he's everywhere. And he did our pregame show for us today. So expect me to be here, but expect there to be rotating faces. And of course, we'll be covering LSU in person this year, so that's exciting as well. As everyone knows, we've covered Tulane for a couple of years now, and we're actively working to get some more people. We have Bobby, and we're trying to get all the schools, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put Louisiana first, as we say. I think we got New Orleans covered pretty well. But yeah, be on the lookout. We're doing all kind of stuff. It's fun. It's exciting. We love it, and hopefully we're having these last 2 to 3 years doing these pre and post game shows. It was always hard to get another face on here with me because, let's be honest, it was hard watching some of those games. But I have a lot of faith. This feels like the year that Kellen Moore is really going to solidify himself. I hope. And Brandon Staley, I think people are already ready to give him the key to the city. So it feels like that's going in a positive manner. And if anyone can make something out of these young guys, I think it's him. And I'm happy that they're giving him young guys so he can really put his stamp on young players and make them into something. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Throw it back to you, Zach, one more time. If you want to shout out the socials for Go Deep Dive, minus the one that we can't talk about.
Yeah, so there's one we can't talk about, but you can go follow Go Deep Dive for LSU coverage. We're at all social medias, Instagram, X, TikTok. It's at Go Deep Dive. My personal that I use for a lot of stuff, I'll talk about pretty much anything on there, is at Zach Nunez TV. You can follow my co-host for Go Deep Dive as well, at DC Billiot Jr.
And if you do follow Zach and you see a post about an LSU player, make sure you click show more. Very, very important. He likes to type, so just keep that show more. If you see 4 pictures, there's a reason why. My favorite part was you guys really didn't say anything at first. It was 3 other people that were read, that was my favorite part. It's we didn't even have to say anything. Someone else did it. But, last thing I want to plug is Dome Discussions. Preseason, they're still only doing 1 episode a week. And after the regular season rolls around, they'll go back to their 2 episodes a week. Those guys are great at what they do, and they're also going to have, I'm pretty sure we have them lined up for most games. Shout out to our silent partner. He has been working hard behind the scenes getting that rolling. So we're going to have kind of behind enemy lines type coverage this season with Dome Discussions. They're going to have, similar people like what we do, but passionate about their teams. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars folks on there with them, and we're going to try and bring that week after week. And then, of course, if any of those folks want to jump on the post and pregame show, maybe, I'm not much of a trash talker. I'm just going to, hope that the Saints do that for me so I don't have to do it. But be sure to check them out. Dome Discussion. Everything for them is posted through the Nose channel. But again, they're going to have some behind the scenes or behind enemy lines coverage for the Saints games. I don't know if I should share this. We might get banned, but I don't know if you can see the message from. But yeah, so a little bit of dog action in the backyard. We'll leave it at that. Maybe you guys can go at whatever it was. I don't know his social, but at DC Villiot Jr. On X and ask him what happened so he can get banned and not us. But anyway, appreciate you guys stopping in. Every week we're going to be doing this pre and post game show, and as well as you guys know, minus you talking about things that your dog does in their free time to a bunny. We're more than willing to put the comments up on the screen. So let us know what you think. Hang out with us, chat, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.